I've always known that I wanted to be successful, wealthy, and drive a nice car. That was it. 3 pretty vague aspirations that honestly felt pretty impossible to achieve. Chasing them, it felt kind of like I was swimming in an infinity pool. Sure, I was technically moving, but I wasn't actually getting any closer to that end point. I turned 19 at the beginning of May, and this time last year, or even 6 months ago to be honest, I was completely directionless. At 16, I thought I had it all figured out. I was going to get a degree apprenticeship, qualify as a solicitor, and have a mortgage by 25. I think I definitely lost some of my earlier ambition from childhood, instead settling for what I thought would be a comfortable life. Regardless, this plan came crashing down around me a few months prior to my 17th birthday. I'd attended a work experience placement in law and found that I honestly hated it. To me, the idea of spending my days reading through long documents was the worst possible torture. After that, I floated around kind of aimlessly. I was still clinging to this idea of a comfortable life and considered getting a degree in computer science, but that wasn't really a passion. Then I did find something that I was actually passionate about. I spent months preparing to join the RAF, and it was only when I completed my CBAT that I had to face reality. I'd been born with foot problems, and they were going to prevent me from joining up. I was honestly devastated, and this left me scrambling to find an alternative path as my 18th birthday and my A-levels were approaching. There was a lot of questions of, well, what are you going to do after sixth form? I didn't know. Ultimately, I did have to reluctantly accept a place at university in an attempt to buy myself some time to figure out what I wanted to do. I realised pretty quickly into my first semester that academics still weren't for me, and that I didn't even really want to pursue a job in my degree field. None of them seemed ambitious enough, or at least offer the same benefits and pay that I was chasing. And it was then when I stumbled across what I do consider to be my saving grace and the opportunity that changed my life. I landed an entry-level role in a fast-growing sales and marketing company in October 2025. Honestly, it is pretty hard to describe it, but in less than 6 months, this job has completely transformed my life. I've been surrounded by equally ambitious people whose work ethic was honestly contagious and vast knowledge was completely free. I've learnt so much from these people, more so than 15 years of schooling has ever taught me. It was at this moment when I knew I could actually be on track for my original 3 goals and I could regain some of that earlier ambition. It was just 2 months later, in fact, that I was actually in position to buy my first car. That in itself was completely insane to me. I never thought I'd be able to afford the starter car of my dreams, which was a Volkswagen Polo. And I even managed to get a 2023 plate. And this was all because I set myself a goal, which was save as much of your wages as humanly possible. And I stuck to that goal. I don't think I spent a penny of the money I earned from October to December. And I haven't really stopped there. I'm constantly setting new goals for myself and making sure that I'm always moving towards something. My next goals should be hit by June. I want to have developed myself, started building positive habits that make me feel good, and improved my performance at work. Looking further towards the future, I want to buy a Breitling Navitimer within the next 6 months. I've been tracking my savings and I'm about 20% there already. My goals beyond this year, likely the next 2 to 3 years, to progress at work, ideally enough to buy one of my dream cars, a Porsche 911. Then the next 5 years, I want to move out of the UK and start a life in the United States, assuming that the political situation has calmed down a bit. As you can probably tell, I am always looking towards something. I'm never really standing still, and this provides me with the fuel that I need for when I'm feeling tired or like I lack motivation. Just have to remind myself how good it's going to feel when I buy that watch or that car, or build that new life in the States, or whatever else I end up working towards. So I'm sure you are wondering, Should I be setting myself goals? Yes, but only if you do them properly. As I mentioned earlier, vague goals aren't particularly helpful. You might want to be successful, okay, but what does success mean to you? Is it having a family? Is it having a fancy job title? Is it earning a lot of money? Success means different things to different people. You might want a nice car, but what do you think a nice car is? My dream at the moment is a Porsche 911. You might hate 911s. I find that it is most helpful to be able to visualise exactly where you'll be when you achieve that goal. Furthermore, you have to actually make a plan. It's very easy to just throw a goal out there. Say, in 5 years I want a good job, car, house, whatever it is. But try asking yourself, what am I going to do over the next 5 years to ensure that I get that job, house, car, whatever it is. Write these steps down even. Make sure that you're staying accountable, and you're more likely to actually work towards it. It doesn't even have to be anything crazy, but just taking small, consistent steps will beat inaction 10 times out of 10. If you're trying to run a marathon, even getting off that couch and running for 5 minutes, you're going to make more progress towards that end goal than just sitting on the couch. Looking back, I think I did always set myself some form of goal. They were just less useful to me because I wasn't thinking about them in the right way. If you want to set goals, they can be extremely valuable. But as I say, only if you actually plan to utilise them, not just throwing them out there and doing nothing with them. So we've established that you probably should set some goals. But why? Well, for myself and the people that I know, having goals allows us to visualise and explain why we're doing something. If you're working hard, not giving in to impulse buys, or just really struggling and really grafting for a while, knowing why you're doing it is often key to sticking with it. For example, I worked my first ever job as a KP in a pub. My days consisted of scrubbing burnt bits of gravy and bone out of pans. It was honestly really disgusting. There were so many times where I wanted to quit. In fact, I nearly quit when he asked me to dispose of a dead rat. That was very nearly my breaking point. And on the whole, it was really hard work. All of that for £5.28 an hour, or whatever minimum wage was at the time. But I had got that job so I could build a gaming PC, which I'm actually recording on now. Saving up several £1,000s on minimum wage was difficult, but I knew why I was doing it. So every time I had to do something gross at work, or I just had to stop playing the video games to actually go out and do a shift, I was able to say, okay, but in the future I'll have a gaming PC. I'm not going to remember how bad it felt to be doing this, but I'm going to get a lot of enjoyment from the PC. I think, looking back, it was definitely worth like a few hours a week working. Knowing your whats and your whys makes it so much easier to do. It accounts for a lot of your motivation, in my experience. So essentially, I think that goals are so important because they add structure to your life. They give every action meaning, and they provide motivation to continue when it might be easier to give up. Now, I'm not an expert at any of this, and I'm definitely not claiming to have my entire life figured out, because far from it, I am still learning. But this is just the patterns that I've noticed over the past few months, and how my life has gotten a lot better in those past few months. If you like this kind of content, if you want to hear my advice as I figure more stuff out, drop me a subscribe and just follow along. If there's anything you want to hear my thoughts on, let me know in the comments. I will reply to all your comments. But thank you for watching.